In this lesson, we are going to talk about slope. So let's read the problem and kind of figure out what it is. We got our word problem. It says the Indian spotted owlet is a small owl that is indigenous to the Southeast Asia. It says the body mass in grams of an owl and an age T weeks is modeled by the graph below. Right, so it's born, starts to grow, and then it kind of levels off to a certain size. So we want to estimate m prime at 2, which is the slope, the rate of change of the body mass at 2 weeks, and state the physical meaning of this. All right, so here is our point. All right, and so we are trying to figure out what is the rate of change at that point, because maybe that's kind of the steepest spot where the baby is growing fastest. And then after that, it starts to kind of slow down. So we don't have an equation. So we're going to kind of algebra 1 this, and which means that we're finding the slope, which means we need 2 points. So we have the point at 2. We can take a guess. That's part of the problem here, is that maybe this is a 283. I don't know. All right, we're going to do kind of our best. So there's going to be a range of values. This isn't going to be perfect. And then I need to take a best guess as to how this rate of change might be occurring. Like, what's the steepness of it? So here's my best guess. Like something like that. There's my tangent line. Okay, maybe, maybe not. All right, it's not going to be perfect. So now I want to take a look at, just like you would have done in a prior algebra class, is I need 2 points on this line so I can figure out my slope. So I don't know if that's all that great, but I feel like it comes pretty darn close to this one. So that's a 120. Right, and then either I'm going to take that point or I'm going to take that point. I don't really know. So let's take our best guess here. All right, so our slope at 2 is an algebra 1 kind of a thing. All right, we're taking an estimate. So we're going to do our 83 minus 20, and then 2 minus 1. So our slope is going to be 63 over 1. So let's make sense out of that. All right, so that is roughly, because it's not perfect, that if we put this thing into words, we're talking about the slope of the body mass. So it is 63 grams per week. So at that point, that owl, the owl is growing roughly 63 grams per week. After 2, that's the word, per week, 2 weeks after birth. Right, and that would change depending upon what week we're talking about. So that seems to be kind of the peak at which it's growing-ish, somewhere around there. If you checked at week 1, it wouldn't be growing as fast. At week 2, it's probably growing the fastest. And then at week 3, it starts to level off. And then by week 4, it's not really doing much anymore. Right, and so if we don't have an equation and we don't have data, we just kind of have a graph, and that's really kind of the best we can do. So there's a range, right, that would be acceptable. Probably shouldn't get 100 and something, and you probably shouldn't get 30, right? And so we want to be as accurate as we can, but we also know that this is an estimate. So that is us kind of throwing some calc into it. And eventually we'll start getting a little bit more detail, a little bit more specific with equations and things.